folks. Welcome to the program. This is Stinchfield, the podcast. Please say a prayer for all the people in California that are affected by these horrific fires. It's like Armageddon out there. I've been doing radio all morning. We've had callers calling in. We had a coworker who lost a house, so people are really under it. Now, the sad reality is much of it could have been mitigated. Much of it could have been prevented. I'm calling it a liberal inferno for a reason. It's a liberal inferno because of the lack of leadership in California. And in fact, it's Democrat leadership where they're so focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion, calling all of you racist. They're focused on abortion. They're focused on climate change. What are they not focused on? Emergency response. They're not focused on people. You know, President Trump talks a lot about America first. I think California needs to start at the basics. Forget California first, forget America first. I think they need to put people first. When you look at the environmental regulations out there to protect the Delta smelt, these fish, to protect the spine flower, that literally is the reason why we don't have water to fight these fires. You've got to start asking yourself a question. When do you put humans above an anchovy, which is what the Delta smelt amounts to? This sadly is not happening in California. So we're going to talk a lot about that today. I mean, just to give you an example of what it's like out there, watch.
Bro, this is apocalypse in California. Bro, real life apocalypse in California. Everything is burning to the ground. You guys, it's like a zombie land. Look at this. Look at this, bro. Everything's burning to the ground, you guys.
It's not often these wildfires get into the city like that. So Pasadena, into Santa Monica, you've got into the hills. Now fires headed towards Brentwood. All of these fires just taking its toll on the people there. And again, we have no answers. We have silence from these leaders. We have excuses from these so-called leaders. We have the blame game from the leaders. And it's maddening because I think what's on display now is the dopiness of Democrats out there. They're like robots. If they're not talking about abortion and climate change and white supremacy, they don't know how to function. All right, I'm going to play a clip from you of Karen Bass being approached by a Sky News reporter, and she can't handle herself. Before I get to that, though, I want to tell you about my friends over at Patriot Mobile, sponsored this podcast. I've got a Patriot Mobile phone. One phone, two lines. I love the idea of that. I love it that I have it. One phone, two lines, two different networks. So no matter what city I'm in, this works for me, this Patriot Mobile phone. America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. They believe in the things we do. They put money to programs that we believe in, from gun rights to freedom of speech, to supporting school board candidates, conservative ones, to take the fight to the woke left. That's where Patriot Mobile is. They're standing in the gap. The leadership of Patriot Mobile constantly under fire by the mainstream media. So this is why I love this company. I love the service, 100% U.S.-based, and you're not going to sacrifice anything. You'll just get peace of mind knowing you're with a company that believes in the things we do and wants America to go in the same direction we do. PatriotMobile.com/Grant. That's the website. PatriotMobile.com/Grant. 972-PATRIOT is the number to call. 972-PATRIOT. Do it today. You get a free month service when you sign up. Tell them Grant Stinchfield sent you. All right, folks, look.
People left their cars. They left everything behind. Newscaster out. Man. If this ain't crazy, then what's crazy, you guys?
You know what's crazy? Is the response that our elected leaders have to this. I mean, this is literally classic. I'm going to play it for you. It's Karen Bass, the mayor of Los Angeles. Remember, she was a congresswoman. This is a woman who's part of the woke mob, a woman who took away $20 million from the fire department. And now, mind you, Los Angeles, the city of Los Angeles, has an $8 million budget for a diversity, equity, and inclusion bureau with 22 employees. $8 million. You don't need that bureau. Do away with it. Put that money back to emergency response. Well, here's Karen Bass getting approached by that Sky News reporter.
Do you owe citizens an apology for being absent while their homes were burning?
Now, remember, she was in Ghana. That's why he says you were absent. She was in Ghana on behalf of President Biden. Now, I actually don't fault her. A lot of people are hammering her for being out of the state. You don't know the fires are going to happen. She comes right back, but it's what she does when she gets back here that I will hammer her on.
Do you regret cutting the fire department budget by millions of dollars, Madam Mayor? Have you nothing to say today? Have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today? Elon Musk says that you're utterly incompetent. Are you considering your position? Madam Mayor, have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today who are dealing with this disaster? No apology for them? Do you think you should have been visiting Ghana while this was unfolding back home?
So she runs away from him. Like, runs away. Now, what kind of leader doesn't answer questions? Like, those are legitimate questions. He's not being rude. Elon Musk did call her incompetent, so respond to Elon Musk. Say we welcome Elon Musk's help. Have him send some satellite and internet connections for us. I mean, I don't know, but that's not the response you want from a leader. Do you regret taking $20 million from the fire department's budget? Seems to me to be a legitimate question. Instead, she runs. Well, the reporter's in tow. That is cowardice, folks. That is not what you want from a leader.
Madam Mayor, let me ask you just again, have you anything to say to the citizens today as you return?
So she gets trapped. I love it. Trapped in the corner.
Madam Mayor, just a few words for the citizens today as you return to deal with the catastrophe.
Can you take this down?
Nothing. What a joke, man.
David, as you say...
I mean, what a joke. The fact that she doesn't respond to him on legitimate questions, she owes it to the citizens of California, and she owes them really an apology, because I will acknowledge that these fires most certainly could have been totally prevented, but the damage most certainly could have been mitigated. And the reason I say that is a letter that was written by the woke fire chief, the DEI hire, the lesbian LGBTQ fire chief, Kristen Crowley, who openly admits her main goal was to hire more women, not to improve the department, but just hire women. So whatever, I think she is a DEI hire. I don't care if you're gay or not. I don't care if you're transgender. I just want the best fire chief possible. Now, to her credit, she did write this letter to the Board of Fire Commissioners. LAFD is facing unprecedented operational challenges due to the elimination of critical civilian positions and a $7 million reduction in overtime variable staffing. These budgetary reductions have adversely affected the department's ability to maintain core operations. She goes on to say, in addition to these impacts, the reduction in those overtime hours has severely limited the department's capacity to prepare for, train for, and respond to large-scale emergencies, including wildfires, earthquakes, hazardous material incidents, large-scale public events, et cetera, et cetera. That was dated December 17th. So she writes that December 17th. Here we are a few weeks later going through this problem. Again, an $8 million budget for diversity, equity, and inclusion. Billions of dollars in California spent on homelessness, not nearly enough spent on wildfire prevention. So remember, we've got this situation where there was no water in the hydrants. You want to see Gavin Newsom's arrogant ass response to no water?
What is the situation with the water? Obviously, in Palisades, ran out last night in the hydrants. I was talking to the firefighter on this block. They left because there was no water in the hydrant here.
The local folks are trying to figure that out. I mean, just when you have a system that's not dissimilar to what we've seen in other extraordinarily large-scale fires, whether it be pipe, electricity, or whether it just be the complete overwhelm of the system. I mean, those hydrants are typical for 2 or 3 fires, maybe 1 fire. You have something at this scale, but again, that's going to be determined by the local
folks. Not my problem. You're asking the wrong guy. Not my job. Come on, man. Have a real answer. The real answer as the chief executive of the state of California is there's no excuse for not having water and fire hydrants. We're going to get to the bottom of it. I'm going to call for a state investigation. People lost their homes because of this. And instead, it's Democrat incompetence covering Democrat incompetence. He throws his hands up in the air. I can't wait on Friday on the Real America's Voice show. We're going to have Greg Hartley. We're going to do the body language segment like we do every Friday on the Real America's Voice show, 7 p.m. Eastern time, by the way, on RAV. We're going to do body language on him. Maybe we'll do Karen Bass. We're going to do body language on Mark Zuckerberg as well, which should be good. So, but there you have Gavin Newsom just throwing his hands up in the air. He really got criticized for putting his hands in his pockets. Fair criticism or not, I don't know. You decide. But the reality is these people are incompetent. They're robots. And when there's travesty and tragedy, they do not know how to respond to it. So now what I love is that you have stars, celebrities, speaking out about this. This is James Woods.
No water in the hydrants. 17.6 million cut from the fire department. Karen Bass, a recent headline, I think you might have tweeted that out from the New York Post.
Yeah. And our new fire chief, has, and by the way, LA Fire Department is fantastic. The people, it's like the people who work for the federal government, so many of such good people, but the people in charge, she took over and she put on her bio that her priority, my highest priority is inclusion, diversity, and equity. That is my priority. And somebody forgot to fill all the reservoirs, I guess, with water because when I was getting smoke alarms, there was a fire truck parked in front of my house. But they couldn't pump any water because there was none because they didn't put them in the reservoirs. Okay? And they were busy cutting, look, it's the same we had with all the crime we have in our neighborhood, in Los Angeles. When we had that idiot Gascon, they just didn't care. Everybody was running loose. They were smashing places. You couldn't walk down the street.
A return to competent leadership. This may be a wake-up call. We're not trying to make this political.
Is it a wake-up call for Californians? That's the question. I honestly don't think it's going to be. California, they're blind liberal zombies out there. Nothing seems to be changing their mind. This whole idea that the fire insurance was being canceled on people. One, people don't read their mail. Some of them didn't know that their fire insurance was canceled. Now they lose everything. Can you imagine not having insurance on your home and you lose your home? I mean, even my house, my studio is in my house, by the way. I would be devastated. Much of my nest egg I've worked so hard for is tied up in my house. So this is important. It's important that you have fire insurance. And if you can't have fire insurance, yes, you can blame the governor for capping premiums and making it impossible for insurance companies to do business in California. But you also got to blame yourself. If you didn't take it upon yourself right away to secure more insurance, then you've got to sell that house. You got to get out of California. You can't get insurance for your home. You got to get out of California. There's no other answer but to get out of California. I really do believe that. I've got more from James Woods here in just a second, but let me tell you about my friends over at get21now.com. Up to 21% monthly returns, 21% annualized income paid monthly. So you make an investment with them, they'll pay you 21% annualized interest. They're going to pay you that monthly, direct deposited into your account. Where can you make 21% on your money guaranteed, contractually signed? Talk to them about the different options they have for you. I went with the 21% option. It was the best for me. And like clockwork, every month I get that money deposited into my bank account. It's like having another job but not having to work. I call it mailbox money. Get21now.com is the website. This is about Bitcoin mining, but not having to deal with the swings. The deal you have with NFN8, that's the name of the company, is it doesn't matter. Bitcoin up, Bitcoin down. They're going to pay you the 21% on your money, okay? annualized. Get21now.com. Get21now.com. Do what so many of my viewers are doing and getting with the company called NFN8 and really bringing in some monthly cash flow to yourself without the headaches of employees and rent and all the other overhead that goes along with owning a business. Get21now.com. Pay him a visit. All right, I told you I'd play more of James Woods. Here he is.
Laura, with all due respect, if it is true that things were handled this way, if it is true that Gavin Newsom is the absolute blithering idiot that I believe he is in the way he has handled fire management in this state again and again and again and again, this isn't a wake-up call. This is the kind of thing they have tribunals for, where they try people and say, you had an oath of office to perform certain duties. When you're the fire chief, this isn't a social justice exercise that you're in charge of. This is you getting water to areas that need water because there are fires in 100-mile-an-hour winds burning houses to the ground. I watched on a Ring camera a guy have to sit and watch his pet burn to death. You know, those things are issues of the heart when you watch a cherished little pet. Or, you know, look, my home is a building. It was we worked 3 years putting the home together. We loved our little house, but it means nothing compared to the 5 people who lost their lives.
James,
so the wake-up call.
Yeah, I hear you. And again, we're going to learn a lot more about.
So James Woods, the actor who's really turned into a very strong voice for conservatives, has lost his house. Like so many people there. And he is right. It's no comparison to lose a house than it is to lose a life, someone that you loved. But, boy, it's still devastating. And especially when you didn't need to lose the house. Do you hear him say he had a fire truck in front of his house? Imagine you're watching your house burn. There's a fire truck there. And the fire truck can't do anything because there's no water. These mother scratchers, man, and I don't know how else to explain it. This was the result. We were wondering how these fires were getting set. Is there an arsonist going around? Watch this.
We're at 302 Pico, and people are lighting fires now. You can see they lit a fire. These guys, not all the people there, but some of those guys lit that fire, and they're actually... the trees caught fire, and then the palms are catching fire. So civilians are now lighting fires down in the so-called, flats around Santa Monica, Venice. So be safe out there. Fire department's been dispatched. We don't have enough water to put this thing out, but we're supposedly on the way.
So people setting fires? I spoke to one person who has a friend in Studio City where there was another fire started. He had to chase looters away from breaking into his house as he's trying to save his house with a garden hose. Looters. Now, who is such a dirtbag that you're going to go into somebody's house at the lowest point in their lives where they're about to lose everything and you're going to steal their stuff? Don't try to loot my house. We're in Texas. We got a lot different laws than you have in California. Something happens here in this house, this is the last house you want to try to loot. I'll tell you that much. So the stars continue to speak out about this. I'm going to get to more on that in a moment. But you had this issue with the water company CEO, the executive. I'm telling you, folks, they failed to pump water into the reservoirs. They failed to have emergency generators in order to run the pumps to pump the water when the power went out. And all they do is make excuses. This woman, I'm told, makes $750,000 a year. That's what I read. Even if it's half that, it's too much. $750,000 to let people's homes burn?
We ran out of water in the first tank about 4:45 p.m. yesterday. We ran out of water in the second tank about 8:30 p.m. and the third tank about 3 a.m. this morning. Those tanks help with the pressure on the fire hydrants and the hills of Palisades. And because we were pushing so much water in our trunk line, and so much water was being used before it can get to the tanks, we were not able to fill the tanks fast enough. So
oh, give me a break. Can anybody say DEI hire? They're incompetent. They want to give us excuses. I don't care about the trunk line. I don't care about how much water you were using. It's the city of Los Angeles in 2025. Water needs to be pumped through the pipes to get it to the fire hydrants to fight fires like this if wildfire now all of a sudden takes over the city. Stop with the excuses. Do you know what the taxes are in Los Angeles? People don't want to hear that it wasn't working, that you weren't ready. We pay you $750,000 a year to be ready, and she wasn't. This is what diversity, equity, and inclusion apparently gets you. I'm sorry if that's blunt, but it's the truth.
Consumption of water was faster than we can provide water in our trunk line. So I want to make sure that you understand there's water on the trunk line. It just cannot get up the hill because we cannot fill the tanks fast enough.
What is the number of hydrants that could not?
Again, it's literally all excuses. Wait till you hear this number.
Get water because of these pressure issues? What percentage of the system in Pacific Palisades wasn't getting service at that point?
We were trying to keep water at all altitudes on the Palisades, and I think about 3 a.m, that's when the hydrants went dry above the Brentwood area. We are able to push water on that trunk line on the east side of that. And we have some water on higher elevations, 16 to 18,000, but at 3,000, at 3 a.m., all of the fire hydrants went dry in the Palisades. What are we doing?
All of the fire hydrants in the Palisades went dry. It was the worst fire. Something like, what is it? Is it 10,000 acres? Something crazy. 1,000 acres, I can't remember what it is, but it was a lot. It was the biggest fire going. And they lost all the fire hydrants. You know, I'm looking in the chat. You guys are great, by the way. 577 Jersey Customs. YouTube, quit shadow banning Grant and give him the views he deserves. It really is BS. We've got over 300 live viewers in a Rumble chat. It usually will grow as the live stream goes on. And then, of course, it plays, and we'll do 50, 60,000 views on Rumble on average each day. We've got 8 viewers in the YouTube channel. They've been shadow banning me for a very, very long time. I still push on there because on the hopes that maybe I reach a voice that needs to be reached. I will tell you, since Elon Musk's speech that he gave the other day, we now have 23 viewers in the Facebook Live. We used to do hundreds until they demonetized me and basically shut me down on Facebook. Then we were in the single digits. We'd have 4, 8. Now we have 24. So maybe we're making some progress there after Elon's speech. But Rumble's where it's at, man. That's the place where I'm sticking it out because they're so great. They don't censor me. They don't tell me what to do. They stay out of all of our business, the creators, that is, on that platform. Patrick says, go Stinchfield's Army in the YouTube chat. Thank you, Patrick. I appreciate that. And I know there's a lot of people talking about, was this a directed energy weapon that we're starting these fires? You know, a lot of people thought that's how it went down in Maui. Quite frankly, I don't know, folks. I don't have the evidence to say yes. I don't have the evidence to tell you no. So I'm not sure how these fires are getting started, but they're getting started, and it's not good. And it's got people. This is Zachary Levy. I don't know what he's done. Apparently, he's an actor. He was on with Jesse Waters last night. I believe he lost his house too. I'm sorry to hear that. Take a listen.
This is just incredible mismanagement, incredibly poor leadership. I would go so far as to say that it's criminally negligent. Because, I mean, Gavin Newsom has been either the governor for 5 years or lieutenant governor prior to that for 8, 9 years. Some of the worst fires we've ever had in California under that watch. He clearly knows that the biggest problem that we suffer in California are these fires, and by the way, the mudslides that follow. And for them to do essentially not just nothing, but worse than nothing when...
Real quick, if you look here, that's the shot everybody's mad at, Gavin Newsom with his hands in his pockets. So it's not a great look, honestly, as communities are burning, but a lot of people are talking about it.
Firefighter budgets are being cut. when they are specifically intentionally not doing the work that could be done to avoid these problems or to be able to effectively serve them when they are happening. We are losing, I mean, I think it's something like millions of acres of feet of water runoff from rain and snow every year in California. As you pointed out, I think the smelt have something to do with that. That's an acre foot of water, by the way, is about 330,000 gallons of water. And there's millions of those that are just rolling off into the ocean when they could be captured in cisterns. We'd have an ecosystem of hoses and safety measures that can keep all of these homes and people in these homes safe. And for some reason, they choose to do none of that. And at some point, it goes beyond just whoopsie. At some point, it goes beyond negligence. There's something that's almost criminally intentional about this. Like, what are they doing? I don't know.
So you mentioned criminal intent and you mentioned criminal negligence. Because California can build anything. I mean, look at Silicon Valley, look at Hollywood. If they want to do something, California can do it. But you haven't built a single reservoir in 10 years? You're just letting water run into the Pacific because of...
So this is my co-host, Jen Horn, on The Morning Answer, where we do radio and morning drive in Los Angeles. This is her big pet peeve. She's on this all the time about how are we not in California capturing the water. They just let it run off right on into the ocean. Then they complain there's drought conditions and they make everybody conserve water and they can't water their lawns. But meanwhile, they're doing nothing to save the water that runs off the mountains. And they're doing nothing to build desalination plants, which the science is there for that. It can be done, but the environmentalists get in the way. I'm telling you, the environmentalists are killing people in California. Karen Bass is one of them. I mean, she had the audacity at this news conference to blame climate change for what we're seeing
over the last couple of years. And I just remember 2 years ago when we were here for a first ever weather event in Los Angeles, a potential hurricane. And I think we all understand in our city that due to climate change, we're going to continue to see very unusual weather events. And
climate change, let me tell you something. California has been dealing with wildfires since the beginning of time. Now, I actually believe they've gotten worse for the reason that you have more homeless now out in the woods that are setting these fires. You got pyromaniacs setting these fires. Then you add on the lack of forest management, no money being spent on mitigating and managing the forest to prevent these things from happening. There's very little education on forest fires to get people to know exactly what not to do when it comes to setting fires. So she's going to blame climate change. That's what I mean by they're robots. This should be a wake-up call for everyone. This is Joe Rogan with a prediction. This was over the summer. But listen.
I talked to a fireman once. This is one of the reasons it freaked me out. And he was telling me, he goes, dude, one day, he goes, it's just going to be the right wind and fire's going to start in the right place and it's going to burn through LA all the way to the ocean. And there's not a fucking thing we can do about it. I go, really? He goes, yeah, we just get lucky. He goes, we get lucky with the wind. He goes, but if the wind hits the wrong way, it's just going to burn straight through LA, and there's not going to be a thing we can do about it. Because these fires are so big, dude. When they're talking about like thousands of acres that are burning simultaneously with like 40-mile-an-hour winds. And the wind's just blowing embers through the air, and those embers are landing on roofs, and those houses are going up, and they're landing on bushes, and those bushes are going up, and everything's dry. And once it happens in a way where it's so spread out that there's nothing they can do. There's nothing they can do.
You just have to evacuate, right?
Nothing they can do.
Nothing they can do. And you got this.
Oh my God, look at the grocery store. Look at this shit, you guys. What the fuck? Oh my God.
It's crazy. I mean, this is literally the city of Los Angeles, and last night Studio City was burning.
The food market is burning down.
This guy on a motorcycle, just take a tour with him, right? Something else to watch the city go up in flames like that. What a shame, really, when you think about just how awful awful that is. All right. President Trump was on Capitol Hill yesterday. He also was at the funeral for Jimmy Carter today with all of the other former presidents that are still living. And you won't believe what President Trump was doing. Whispering sweet nothings into the ear of Barack Obama. You have Trump and Obama chuckling, and Kamala Harris like a scorned woman. I'm gonna show you that here in a moment, folks. But before I do, I want to remind you about Energized Health. Look, now's the time. Everybody makes New Year's resolutions. Make it a New Year's revolution and get with Energized Health. They've changed my life. The science of intercellular hydration, the way they set it up, I'm still eating many of the foods that I always enjoy. My workouts are not crazy. This program is a total mind, body, soul transformation. And I really feel like I've transformed it. My skin is cleaner. I've lost fat, including visceral fat, that ugly fat around my organs. I've gained muscle mass, and I've got more energy, and I feel sharper than I ever have before. That's the total package. I wouldn't tell you this if I didn't go through the program myself. In the first 15 days, I lost 15 pounds, okay? In just 2 weeks, I lost 15 pounds. EnergizedHealth.com/Grant. You can do this too. By the way, I think they still have this going on. The 555 challenge. $5, 5 days, 5 pounds guaranteed. What do you got to lose? For $5, you put a little skin in the game. Give them a chance. Daily videos, coaching, Zoom calls, the program, websites, recipes. They got everything there for you to succeed. It's not a gimmick. It's a new way of life. EnergizedHealth.com/Grant. Make it a New Year's revolution. EnergizedHealth.com/Grant. All right, folks. This is stunning. You have Donald Trump making Barack Obama laugh. He looks uncomfortable. That's George W. Bush and Laura. And look at Kamala. She's looking back there. She's not happy about all. What are they whispering about? What are they saying? She's upset about this. She's jealous, is what it is. I guarantee you. Do you know the evil things that President Trump has said about Barack Obama? All true, by the way. Maybe nasty things, but they're true, and Obama deserved them. Obama has said some pretty bad things about Donald Trump as well. Here they are, the only two that seem to be getting along. And Melania doesn't look like she wants any of it right there. But you've got all these former presidents there. There's Bill Clinton and Hillary. Oh, brother. Bill looks old, doesn't he? He just looks old. But I can't wait to hear what Donald Trump said to Barack Obama to get him to chuckle. Did he make a comment like, hey, I know you're really the president right now. Are you bummed that I'm taking over for you in a couple weeks? That would get Barack Obama to chuckle. Hey, your Sleepy Joe guy really screwed it up, didn't he? Sorry it didn't work out with your girl Kamala over there. Maybe that's what Kamala looks over. I don't know. Funny, though, and interesting. I mean, those were the only two that were really talking. But let's get back to President Trump on Capitol Hill. This was him first when he entered.
Couldn't feel better. We're looking at the one bill versus two bills, and whatever it is, doesn't matter. We're going to get the result, and we're going to make America great again, and we'll see you in a little while. Would you consider sending?
All right, a little hard to hear. He says we're one bill or two bills. It doesn't matter. This is talk about immigration and taxes. He wants to continue the Trump tax cuts, and he needs to get immigration. I'm not even going to call it immigration reform because it's not about reform. It's about immigration security. It's about national security. Needs to get that bill done. One bill, two bills, 50 bills. I do believe that President Trump is a results guy. And however it gets done is fine. He talks about wanting one big, beautiful bill. I don't know. Washington likes to operate that way. It may make it harder to pass. We shall see. President Trump did address the media after his meeting with senators and members of Congress. And back to the basics and common sense governance.
Do you believe think that federal aid should be provided to California for as long as it takes.
Well, it's very sad because I've been trying to get Gavin Newsom to allow water to come. You'd have tremendous water up there. They send it out to the Pacific because they're trying to protect a tiny little fish, which is in other areas, by the way, called a smelt. And for the sake of a smelt, they have no water. They had no water in the fire hydrants today in Los Angeles. It was a terrible thing. And we're going to get that done. It's going to finally be done. I got it done from the federal side, and he didn't want to sign it, but it's not going to happen again like that. There's no reason. Can you imagine? You have farmers that don't have any water in California. They have plenty of water. They don't have a drought. They send it out to the Pacific, and it's crazy. So what's happening in California is a true tragedy. I know those areas very well. I have many friends living in those houses. That is a true tragedy. Nobody ever thought. I mean, virtually Beverly Hills and areas around Beverly Hills are being decimated. The biggest homes, some of the most valuable homes in the world are just destroyed. I don't even know. You know, you talk about a tax base. If those people leave, you're going to lose half your tax base of California. This is a true tragedy, and it's a mistake of the governor, and you could say the administration. They don't have any water. They didn't have water in the fire hydrants. They don't have water. And yet they have, the water comes from, you know where? Up north. And it comes down at levels, they give millions and millions of barrels of gallons of water that they have, and they send it out into the Pacific. For the Pacific, it's like a drop, it's nothing. But for California, we take care of the whole state. So what's happened is a tragedy, and the governor has not done a good job. With that being said, I got along well with him when he was governor. We worked together very well, and we would work together. I guess it looks like we're going to be the one having to rebuild it.
So he's so funny because Newsom wouldn't sign it. It's a disaster in leadership. But with that said, we got along well. Well, President Trump is a deal guy. He knows he's going to have to work with Gavin Newsom. It's a big state, California. Partnering and working together is going to work better than battling each other. We shall see if Newsom wants to go down that route. You know, he wants to run for president in 4 years. But this kind of talk from President Trump, common sense governance, is really having an effect. It's one of the reasons why he won the election. And then you get this guy, Charlemagne. We haven't talked about him a lot. There's a radio host, appeals to inner cities across America. He said this about Trump, and he was never a Trump guy.
Donald Trump shows me what's politically possible. Trump shows me what presidents can do if they want to do it. Donald Trump shows me what can be said if you are willing to say it. It's not about what can't be done. It's about who has the political will to do it. I don't want to hear a peep from Democrats about nothing until they get the balls to say what's really on their mind in regards to this country and this world. Trump doesn't care if it sounds ridiculous. Trump doesn't care if it makes sense. It's no political correctness whatsoever. As I've been saying for years, the language of politics is dead, and Donald Trump killed it.
I mean, what more could you ask for? People are waking up. I just don't think it's happening in California. We'll see if these fires change things out there, but that's Charlemagne. So one of the issues is we have rah, way to go, victory laps being taken in Washington, D.C. Now is not the time to be taking victory laps. Now is the time to get to work. Now, I'm in a good mood about the future of America. I really am. I asked this to Congressman Tim Burchett of Tennessee, a great friend of my Real America's Voice program and becoming a friend of mine. And this guy's a real conservative. I really like this guy. He's a fighter and he's a truth teller. So I said to him, I'm in a good mood. How about you? He said, not so much. This is that interview with a stark warning for Republicans from Congressman Burchett about what we need to do when President Trump gets in and really before he even takes office. So I'm going to play it for you, and we'll comment on the back end. Enjoy this. Here we go.
Great seeing you, brother. Thank you for having me on.
Are you in a good mood, too?
No, I'm never in a good mood. That's okay.
I'm in one. Well, I don't actually believe that because you make me laugh all the time, but that's fine. Let me ask you this question, then, a serious question. Why are you not in a good mood, Congressman?
I think we've got 100 to 150 days to get Trump's agenda through before the rails, this train runs off the rails. You'll see everybody clawing back, wanting to spend more money and fall back in their, as we say in the church, back into their old sinful ways. And I can see that happening as sure as I'm sitting here.
Well, I'm with you on that. I know there's a lot of talk about cutting government spending, something you and I both want to do. Limit the size of government. You and I want to do this. There's a lot of talkers in Washington. You say 150 days. Is that because that's the time to put the screws to them now? Time to put the pressure, strike while the iron's hot?
Yeah, and I just know this place. I've been here 6 years. I mean, I know human nature. It's very predictable. And I know we have no guts, and I know a lot of our members are compromised on both sides of the aisle. And that's why you see things like, well, for instance, I've had this bill. I passed it in the House, and we found out that the Taliban was, American taxpayers were sending the Taliban $40 million a week. And somebody asked the president that today in the press conference, and he acknowledged it. And, I passed that bill in the House, and I couldn't get anybody in the Senate to even take it up. I mean, I talked to several senators, and nobody would take it up. To me, that just tells you where we are as a nation, and that we are, in fact, compromised. And that if Trump does not get this thing under control, we could lose our country.
All right. These are very serious words, and I agree with you. When you say compromised, tell me what. Is it compromised from China, from lobbyists, from the money, the insider trading up there? What is it?
All of the above. The Russians had the thing called the honeypot, and I got a lot of criticism earlier on in my political career, but I really don't care. Nobody stood up and told me it wasn't happening. The Russians do that. They get you in a sex situation overseas or somewhere in some motel, and they've got pictures of you, and then they own you. You have members who have family members that work for big corporations or lobbying firms that do business up here or that need to do business up here periodically. You just go down the list, and they're just compromised. Their wife and or their girlfriend will work for some of these big firms, and it's just. And we've had a couple of members that have very close ties to the communist Chinese. One had their driver was a Chinese agent for over 10 years. She's since passed away. We have a current member, and they were on the dadgum intelligence committee, and Pelosi wouldn't even take them off. And they had a long-term relationship with a Chinese communist spy. So, and the media is not saying anything about it. And, it's just a game.
It amazes me because it is true. You're talking about Dianne Feinstein, Eric Swalwell, who was on intelligence. Both happens to be from California, by the way. You talk about the need for speed right now. We have things that President Trump wants to get done, specifically immigration, and of course this tax bill, no tax on tips, some other things. There's talk of one bill, two bills, multiple bills, a big, beautiful bill, as President Trump calls it. What is the best way to go about this?
Trump has said, I want one bill, but then he says he'll take two. I think he is a results-driven individual. If he thought he could get it done in 50 bills, he would do it. And I am of that same belief. I think you better make sure, though, that with all this, that we combine that with some serious cuts, that we show the American public we are serious about the $36 trillion in debt, that we do something with that. Doge, I love those guys. I love Vivek. I love Elon. They're talking about cutting $2 trillion. That's just 200 days in debt that we run up. We run up another debt, $1 trillion every 100 days, whatever $1 trillion is, if you can even imagine that amount of money. But I just don't think Congress has the guts or the wherewithal to do that, because somebody's going to be whispering in their ear, some K Street lobbyist that takes care of them or their family or what have you. I think we're in some serious trouble, and America better start paying attention and quit with the victory lap. I'm over the victory lap. I'm ready to get to work.
I'm with you. Here I was taking a victory lap because President Trump makes you laugh sometimes so much. But
Well,
you are right about that.
You got the luxury of that. I don't as a congressman, and I wish I could. Some of these guys, I just want to strangle them because they're all so giddy. And I've been in the minority and I've been in the majority, and I'll tell you, the majority is a lot tougher.
All right. Last question for you. I'm watching the speaker's race go down, And lo and behold, I see my buddy Tim Burchett sitting there next to the speaker. I said to the person I was with, I said, he's helping make deals. He's working this right now. That's actually the guy, I said, because these very conservative members of Congress respect you, Tim Burchett. What was that like being in the middle of that? And are you guys going to use some of that power that you have? And I think you solidified it as having power to make sure we get some of these cuts.
Well, that morning I prayed. I said, Lord, put me in a position where I can maybe cause some change. And I watched it all go down. You know, I was there when we removed our former speaker, and I saw, and everybody ganged up on me, and both sides, and they're thumping their chests, bumping into me and threatening me. Some people still won't even speak to me, you know, some of my big donors. So I watched the guys involved in it. I knew Thomas Massey would not move. He'd already, that was just he's a good man. There was no need to go there. But I saw the other guys, somebody that might be somebody we could talk to. I watched the speaker. I watched everybody crowd around him, you know, tell him, hey, we'll get him next go around, you know, the usual rah-rah stuff. And he saw me, and he takes me serious, and he motioned me over and told the person, his staffer, to get out of the seat. And so I sat down beside him, and I waited for my moment, and you saw it. It was in the Wall Street Journal, and I just reached over. I leaned over to him and said, hey, you need to get with those guys one-on-one out of the crowd and work this thing out. And he's, you know, and that's the human condition, because you put 30 people in a room, and then everybody else starts speaking for everybody. And then, you know, the Bible talks about casting your pearls among the swine. I just sat there and walk out usually from those stupid meetings. And that's all it took. They needed just to be heard. And they voiced, they're very conservative, strong men. And they wanted to make sure that their conservative values transpired into the new speakership. And they gave him those assurances, and that sealed the deal. And because some people don't like Mike Johnson, but I'll tell you what, we got 150 days to get something done, or I'm convinced you will see the downgrading of this country.
All right. Well, I know you'll be there fighting for us. I really do. And I want everyone at home to not underestimate what you did that day. I really think that was the big role in getting us on the path to some success here. So, Tim Burchett, as always, thank you for coming on. You're a good man, and we appreciate you.
Please underestimate me. I made a career out of people underestimating me, so I'm good with that. Thank you, brother. Pray for our country. Let's take our country back. Dadgum, we got a wonderful country. Let's take it back.
Well, we do have a wonderful country. It's a great country, and we do need to take it back, and we will, because of guys like Tim Burchett and because of guys like President Trump and Vivek and yes, even Elon. I've got some little concerns about the ties to President Trump and some things, but I think overall Elon's going to help us. And then you've got some real strong conservatives in the House, guys like Andy Biggs and Ralph Norman and others, Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene. You get all these people together, we're going to be okay, and we keep filling the ranks with more conservatives, and this country's going to be all right. But let's get President Trump in there January 20th and start this process. Amen to that. Hey, before I let you go, my friends over at the Wellness Company have a new kit out. It's the Field Kit. You see the size of this thing? I love it. It's got this like Pelican-style case. Inside here, if you open it up, prescription medications, another guidebook, again, a whole slew of prescription medications, including there's pain medication in here, there's ivermectin in here, hydrochloroquine in here. You name it, they have it in this new kit, and I'm so happy that I have one of these. So twc.health/grant. Use the promo code GRANT for 10% off and some other savings too as well. It's really great. The promo code, use it, folks. I promise you will not regret it. twc.health/grant. And again, be prepared. We have snow coming into Dallas. We know there's going to be drugstores closed down for who knows how long. This city shuts down when we get snow and ice. The fires in California, you know there's going to be drugstores shut down there. God forbid you need prescription medications. Do you have it? There's this kit. And then don't forget to, while I'm here, I might as well show you. There's this kit too. This is a great starter kit as well. So again, the Wellness Company, I'm grateful for their support of this program. Support them as well. It may just save your life. twc.health/grant. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us today. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you on the Real America's Voice show tonight. My website, GrantStinchfield.com, GrantStinchfield.com. Sign up for the email list. And, of course, all the podcasts can be seen there, as well as the Rumble channel here, which is our main outlet. But we thank you if you're watching on Getter, on Twitter, on Facebook, and on YouTube. Wherever you watch, spread it, copy the address, and then repost it, okay? That's how we gain traction. And we're growing, man. We're growing like wildfire. I owe a lot of that to Rumble, too. So thank you to the Rumble folks. All right, folks. We'll see you on Real America's Voice tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Stinchfield's Army rolls. We'll see you then.